Excellent. So we have a fabulous session for you now. And the session title, What is Best Practice in the Use of AI and Other New Technologies in Building a Better Understanding of Your Partner Community? And we have a terrific speaker for you. His name is Harbinder Kira, and he's the CEO of a company called Mind Matrix. He has over 20 years experience in sales, marketing, and channel enablement software and solutions. He's provided IT consulting services to companies as diverse as Southwest Airlines, Nationwide Insurance, IBM, Siemens, Citibank, and Sprint. Harbinder was one of the 3 CEOs to win the CRM Influential Leader Awards last year, announced by the Destination CRM magazine. And Harbinder has an MS in Information Networking from Carnegie Mellon University and an MS in Computer Engineering from Florida. And he's also a member of Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society and a member of the Dean's Leadership Council at CMU. And is currently mentoring, he tells me, a team at MIT, but perhaps he can tell you a little bit more about that. So, Harbinder, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rod. I'm so excited for this opportunity today. The reason is, this is obviously I've spent a lot of my time for the last 25 years, in channel enablement or sales enablement technologies, and machine learning, artificial intelligence is some of the key technologies as a personally myself as an engineer or as a CEO that we have explored over the years. And as Rod mentioned, that currently I'm mentoring, there's a hackathon, AI hackathon at MIT. So I'm mentoring that program currently, and this is really exciting to see other kids and how they're utilizing artificial intelligence to solve some complex business problems. So when Rod came to me and said, there's a topic, I said, this is really near and dear to me. So this is something that I am hoping that I should be able to add value here, that demonstrate, what is out there, in terms of different types of technologies and how those technologies can really help the partner, gather all the partner community data and help all the vendors who are out there who are really dealing with all these different partners. So with that in mind, just a little bit of background on Mind Matrix. Some of you probably already know. Mind Matrix, we started this company almost 22 years ago. We're the leader in partner relationship management and partner marketing and partner sales enablement. And one of the key focus areas for Mind Matrix is to create channel-friendly program. And so we have platform that uses machine learning and ML for training, content recommendation engine, and full-blown automation tools to automate the whole partner journey. So with that in mind, so let me get started. The first thing what I thought maybe it'll be very helpful to give a little bit of an overview. What is machine learning? What is deep learning? And what is AI? And because this term, or these terms are kind of used interchangeably across the board. So I wanted to kind of spend a little bit of a time and talk about this. So I'm going to start with deep learning. You probably would have heard these terms before. Now, deep learning is really goes back into that how this, the whole concept of machine learning, deep learning, and AI really goes back to machines learning. Basically, how you train these machines and how these machines, like humans, solve these complex problems. Now, deep learning uses, we call neural network technology, and that is how our human brains think. And that is designed to solve complex problems such as image recognition, voice recognition, and there are a lot of multitude of applications going from healthcare, from chatbots, how people are using deep learning. And the deep learning technology uses complex algorithms. There are many different algorithms just in deep learning around neural networks, and that could be forward thinking, forward process neural networks. You have that has the different types of. I don't want to get into those technical details in today's conversation, but there's the idea that it uses complex neural networks technology and algorithms to solve some pattern recognition issues, and that could be in an image, that could be voice recognition. So that is part of the deep learning. The second piece, that's something that we hear a lot, is machine learning. Now, machine learning is a little bit different in a sense that it is a subset of artificial intelligence, but it helps machines learn and basically based on mathematics, statistical models. So I'm going to give you a very simple example. I'm going to break this down so everybody has a real understanding. It's like how humans sometimes, we look at that, hey, is it safer to fly? And statistically, yes, it is safer to fly. So we fly. We make a decision that, hey, it makes sense to go and fly. So obviously, based on the data, we have tabulated it. And based on that, it statistically makes sense. That's how we kind of think a lot of times. And so machine learning has got built on a lot of mathematical models. Now, and that is a lot of linear algebra. So, one of the questions that people have asked in the past is, why now? Why all this stuff is happening now and never happened before? A lot of the stuff was there before. If I remember when I was at Carnegie Mellon almost 28 years ago, we were dealing with neural networks. We were dealing with machine learning. What has happened over the years is the computational speed has increased drastically. And that has really helped. And there are a lot of pre-packaged now. We have all these NLM libraries. A lot of libraries have been created around these mathematical models that people can reuse, and the processing has improved. And as a result, and you're seeing a lot of new applications coming out in machine learning and using deep learning. Now, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is basically taking the data that is being collected, analyzed in deep learning and machine learning, and making decisions like the way humans do. That's really boils down to. You have a data set, and now as an application, now you're saying, okay, what content should I serve? What training should I serve? What decision should I make like the humans will make? Based on that's really where the AI comes in. It's the wrapper around the data that is being captured as part of machine learning and deep learning. I have a couple of slides really talk about a little bit more for people who are being, looked at traditional programming. So if you think about traditional programming, so you have a programmer that basically you have, most of the stuff you have everything in, in program and software. You have all these rules. And so you create all these rules, you create all these SQL queries, and you write all the logic and software. And you run with the data, and you have the results that come out of it. Well, it's pretty straightforward. So now I'm going to add a little bit of complexity to this. So what happens, the data that you're getting is changing. It's unstructured. It's not structured at all. That means every time you look at the data, you have to go back and change your program. You have to add new rules. Now, before you know it, you'll end up developing a huge piece of code to look at every possible scenario of the data that is in the system. That's really where the machine learning and AI comes into play. Now, the interesting thing is the rules in machine learning are actually in the data itself. So that way you can create a scalable model and you use the data and you create all the rules where the system is learning from the data itself. So that creates the most flexibility and you're able to solve these complex problems. That is the fundamental difference. So now the question is why we're here today. Why are we talking about machine learning and AI, and how does it apply to partner community data? So let me get started. Let's talk about why there's a need for something like this. And in order to do this, I would like to kind of see what's the space we are looking at. And this is I saw this nice graphics from Forrester. There are over 2 million partners in our space alone, in tech space. In tech space, there are over 2 million partners. I'm not talking about manufacturing, the dealers and the distributors and everybody else around it. Just in the tech space. And each of these partners are generating billions of data points every day. It's a lot of data out there. Now, the important thing is, you have all this data. What do we do with this data? How we harness this data? And how this data is going to help us make better decisions. And that is really one of the things that I'm going to be talking about. And in order to do that, the first thing is to really understand what are the different data types. So we talked about billions of data points being generated by millions of partners out there. So the first data point is the data points the partners will provide to you. They will come to you. These are data points that partners will give you, as part of the partner profile, as part of the QBR. They'll tell you who they are, what they do, what verticals they serve, everything about themselves, the services they offer, all that stuff. That is with the partners that are actually explicitly providing the data to vendors. That is the first data type. That is pretty straightforward. That's great. So obviously you need a system to manage this data. The second data point, it is based on that is generated based on partner activity. So partners are transacting with the vendors, a lot of deals and opportunities, orders, commission, ticketing. There's a lot of transactional data going on. There's a lot of activities, and and one area that I'm not covering today is if you have chatbots and machine learning, there's some communication interaction going on. There's some data that is being captured at that level as well. But think about this is the partners are generating this data based on the activities. This is a transaction data. This is a data that is being generated on an ongoing basis. Sales orders, everything you can think of. That is the second type of data. Okay. The third type of data we call first level interaction of the partners that have with a vendor, where they're not actually providing the data, but this is like if some of you are familiar with marketing automation, we call it digital buyer's journey. So think about digital partners interactions. If they're coming to your website, looking at XYZ asset, they're opening your email. They go to your website looking at different information. They log into the portal, but they perform other interactions. This is their buyers, their online journey, the interaction they have with the vendor. So that is the third piece of data that is being generated out in the cloud, on the internet. All the different interactions are happening out there. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Number 1, 2, 3, pretty straightforward. So I'm going to talk about the fourth piece of data that is more aligned with the partner intent data. And a lot of you are pretty familiar with the ABM stuff, account-based marketing, and a lot of this intent-based data out there. What these partners are actually doing on other third-party sites. There are a lot of websites that provide content. You have ad networks. So there's a lot of data being generated. That is the intent data that you can capture and understand who these partners are, what they're trying to do. Hey, this partner is looking at cloud data. They're looking at backup, at disaster recovery. There's an intent. You can see what they might be interested in. That is the fourth data point. And the last one, and this is an important one, the data partners are generating on their website. Social data, their blogs. Partners have nowadays, every partner has a website. And there's a lot of data on their website. So combination of all these different data points can give you a pretty decent idea about the partner. So that is really the 5 different key categories of data type out there. So the question now is, how do you harness this data, all these different data types? What is available from a technology? We talked about a little bit of ML and AI, but what else is out there to harness this data? And the other part is, once you harness this data, what is the benefit of this? And that's really one of the areas that I'll be spending some time today. So let's look at some of the key technologies we're going to focus on. The first one is intent data collection. So what is that? So this is really where as you personally go on and download a white paper, or you go, depending upon your IP and reverse DNS and where you're from and what emails you open and click-throughs and IP. So there's a lot of data that you're generating that you don't even know about. And that really talks about the intent. Obviously, they cannot point that this is John Doe, a company at IBM, who's looking at this. But they can certainly say that at IBM, there's a lot of interest, or it's a partner VTech solution. There is an interest in data backup and disaster recovery. Now, the intent data is also helpful. In a basically a lot of companies, if you sign up for ZoomInfo and a lot of that stuff that you can utilize, you get to know the contact details, and they're all utilizing ML in the back end. So that is really all being collected as part of the intent data collection. The second piece of technology is WebBots. That allows you to scan your websites, partner websites. That could be for prospects, or partners that you already have in your ecosystem, and collect all the data that they have on their social media, their websites, and all gets piped into, the foundation for most of this is machine learning that looks at all the data, because the data is in a very unstructured format. Because how one partner says stuff on their website and how they say high tech and somebody says technology business, and it can vary. There should be so many permutation combinations. So you need a machine learning technology to basically look at the data, organize it, and analyze it. The second piece is, this is a very common technology and being utilized in marketing automation vendors like HubSpot. And this is basically where this technology was initially utilized, typically to understand prospect digital buyer's journey, prospect online behavior. Same technology is being utilized to understand the partner's journey. So who they are, what they do, how they're interacting with your brand. That is the second piece. The third piece is that there's a lot of data that is being collected by LMS and ERPs and POS platforms, and how all this data comes in together into a PRM platform, CRM platform. And this is really where the component of AI comes in, because you have all this data coming in. And what do you do with this data? How do you make this data actionable? That's really what boils down to at the end of the day. So you may have a lot of this data, and if you're not taking actions on it, and that is really what's the most important thing here. So yes, we have collected this data, we have analyzed this data. So now what is the benefit of this data to a vendor, people who have a partner program? So that is really what I'm going to talk about. So the first, from a value perspective, a lot of this technology, all of these technologies and the content that you develop, the data you're collecting, is the first benefit is more on the partner recruitment side. So why is that? And I'm going to get into detail. So the partner recruitment is obviously there's, as I said, there are millions of partners. Figuring out who is your right partner. Which partner you should be targeting for recruiting. So that is one area that we believe, knowing the profile, the partner community, knowing the data, and that can help accelerate partner recruitment process. The second is driving partner engagement or measuring partner engagement with your brand. And this is really the other important topic. Typically when people look at engagement, people look at, hey, how much partners have sold last year? And based on that, they'll say, X out of 100 partners, 20% partners are engaged because of these 20% partners have sold our solution last year. But there are a lot of other key indicators that will tell you in advance if these partners are actually engaged with your brand or not. And that is the most important thing. These technologies will give you the insight and help you focus on the partners who are less engaged and people who are more engaged and what to do with those. And that is part of the partner driving partner engagement. And the third bucket, and I think most of you guys are very familiar with this. This is helping in QBRs and joint business planning sessions with the partners and making sure the data that is being collected, what partners are telling you and what partners are actually doing, that's an important thing, because the data that it is out there, what partners are doing and what partners are telling you. So knowing that, obviously as part of the first data set, they're going to tell you what their plan is, but the question is, have they done it? Are they going to do something A, B, and C, what they said they would do? So, but it's very helpful in business planning and QBR. This is really one of the most important ones, prioritization and automation. So you have all this data. So what do you do with this data? So it helps you do a couple of things. It helps you prioritize your resources, which partner that you need to go after, and then also what it allows you to do to automate a lot of these experiences and automate different workflows and partner journeys. And because now you have the data available to you, and now that can help you automate a lot of the information in the back end and processes and workflows. And the last, it improves the partner experience. And this is really one of the important things. We all talk about partner experience. How do you create channel-friendly programs? In order to create channel-friendly programs, it really comes down to personalization. How can you personalize, have one-to-one engagement and one-to-one journey in your platform or in your approach? Without knowing the data, it's very hard to create that one-on-one experience. And the other important part here is building partner-friendly program is aligning internal sales and marketing resources, tools with the partner persona, partner type, who they are, what actions they have taken, what they have not taken, and that is really brings all the pieces together. This is really why we believe how these technologies can help improve vendors manage their partners. So let me start on the partner recruitment side. So this is really the first step as you're building a partner program, obviously you're trying to figure out, I want to go after ISVs or MSPs. What kind of MSPs that I need to go after? There's so many, there are over 30 to 50,000 MSPs, MSSPs, who's where, what geo they serve, what territory they're in, what are they selling any of my competitors' products? There's a lot of stuff that you would like to know. That's really where the technology can help provide that insight. So having these website bots that can scan thousands of partners' websites and give you an insight that, hey, X amount we scan, they're serving high tech, the verticals they serve, services they're offering, and the vendors they're representing. This is just the example here, but this can really, there's a lot of different layers to this. Geos they serve, are they just serving, just in LATAM or EMEA or APAC? Are they selling, you can feed in your competitor names, and you can actually tells you that how many of these guys are actually selling your competitor products. Knowing that, it's so important. Now you can focus on the partners that selling complementary products. If you're focusing on certain geo, and you can see which partner is serving in that geo, but that gives you a great starting point. And this is really one of the areas we believe that partner recruitment becomes a very, very important, helpful with the technologies that are available out there. Second, it's more focused around partner engagement. So the technologies that are commonly used, obviously you need a PRM or CRM, with all the partner journey data coming into a PRM, CRM, because then you have machine learning that can look at a lot of this data that comes in, analyzing it, and then basically providing the insight, which partners engaged, which partners not engaged with your brand, why they're not engaged, having that insight. And now you could have your CAMs focus on partners who are not engaged or who are engaged. And this helps you measure and drive partner engagement. So the third piece is QBRs. This is, a lot of folks have done this and doing this. Excel models, Excel sheets, partners coming in, every quarterly business review, partners going through Excel files, telling you all, giving you all the data, what they're going to do. But a lot of this data is already on the web, and what they do on their website, you can do a quick analysis and say, they said they're going to be focusing on vertical A, B, and C or geo, but let me do a quick scan, and it tells you, if they have done updated their website with the new services and offerings that we offer. You can do a quick sanity check of validation across all your partner ecosystem. This can help facilitate and improve your QBRs and the planning that you do with your partners, because it is giving you the insight, what is on the ground and what they're telling you, does it really match? And that is really one of the important things with the data that is out there, and that can help you understand, and help your partners going forward. Number 3, at the end, so this is more about automation, prioritization. How do you automate your workflows, the data, because the data is there. So now you have a data who the partner is, and now you have data coming in from sales data, POS data, and now you're capturing that in your platform, and the data is constantly changing. As the data is constantly changing, one of the important things is, because a lot of you folks have limited channel resources, and you're already trying to build a partner program at scale. You cannot scale that program without data. And then the data, and not just the data, but actionable data. And this is really where the data coming in from multitude of sources helps you organize this data and take actions on this data. So the last value here, I'm going to talk about this, is the partner experience. Partner experience. This is really, I have personally spent almost 23 years looking at this and still trying to figure this out. How do we make this better, better, better? And how do we personalize this experience? And this is really comes down to, this is where, the AI comes into play, where you can recommend the right training course, right content. Now, here's an important thing. I'm going to give you a walking example where AI technology can really help. So, just going to walk you through a scenario. Partners are selling for you today. They're buying this stuff and selling products, and there's a lot of POS data coming in. Looking at the POS data, you know what they're selling and what they're not selling, what their expected goals were, and where do they stand. Looking at that data, if somebody is not selling a certain like a widget A, they're supposed to be selling widget A, or they have a hard time selling X amount of quantity that month, maybe they need to be trained. Maybe they need to be certified. Maybe they need to be onboarded, re-onboarded. Tying in all the data that is coming in and personalizing the experience as part of the portal or the content or the training, or it really doesn't matter, or the tools they would need to be successful, that's really will help build a successful and channel-friendly program. Some of the key takeaways, this is some of the topics we talked about. Obviously, I can spend a lot of time in each of these topic areas. And again, one of the topic areas we didn't cover today is the deep learning, but that itself is a huge area. And but some of the key takeaways that based on what I have seen, obviously there's a lot of data out there. And data is changing. And there's a lot of data available across multitude of different platforms, transaction data, activities these partners perform. So there's a lot of data out there. And there's a lot of technologies out there to harness this data, and capture this data, analyze this data. And the value proposition is you have all the data, but if you're not going to make this data actionable, it's no good. But you can definitely, there are a lot of key areas that you can utilize this data to create a channel-friendly program, help you in recruiting, help you in onboard, and help you with QBR. So the important thing is that how you go from ML to AI to help you make the data more actionable. And this really the most important thing. This will help you build a channel-friendly program going forward, how you harness it. And this plays a very, very important role going forward in developing your channel programs. At the end, I would like to conclude my presentation with one comment. Vendors who get this, people who know that this is really out there, and those are the vendors who will be very successful. That is one of the most important things. Yes, we all know the stuff out there, and not everybody uses it, wants to deploy it, or capture, take these tools and put in place. And people who are going to do it they'll be the winners going forward. Thank you for your time.
Harpinder, thank you very much indeed. We've got time for a number of questions, and I certainly learnt a lot from that. So really, really good job. Thank you very much. And I've got a question from the audience, and the question is, what I've heard, one of the main challenges with MLAI in the channel is that although there is a lot of data, it's still hard to get a big enough data set to be really relevant. Are you seeing that?
So there's it depends. Again, as I mentioned, there are a lot of different areas where again, if you think about unstructured data. So I'm going to just give you a simple example. Partners' websites and social content. There's a lot of unstructured data. Every partner has got a lot of data, has a website, has a blog. And there's a lot of insight. You can actually analyze partners' website quickly and see what they're up to. Okay? And you can build a decent data set seeing what's out there. So that is one part of it. The second part, I think, the question I think you were asking, for example, depending upon, because as part of the ML, and obviously you need to have a good trainable data set. And you can start off with a structured learning. It doesn't have to be unstructured learning. You have a data set that you can start off with in a more structured way, and you can build on it. And obviously, if you're building a smaller channel program, and obviously you have a less data set available. But as you have a lot of huge partner ecosystem, and there are vendors, for example, E2Open, and they have a lot of data out there because they captured all the POS and all the transaction data. There's a lot of insight to be gathered out of that data set. The question is, how do you take that data set and profile and make it actionable? It has to be all brought in a very cohesive format. So that's really where the value lies. Consolidation and bring the data in from multiple sources.
Okay, and I've got another question coming in. There's a lot of tech out there. Can one portal do it, or do you have to have a suite of tech just for channel management? Seems like it could spiral.
Oh my goodness, that's actually a good question. It's a double-edged question. So yes, there's a lot of tech out there, and from my matrix perspective and from my perspective over the years, we have tried to provide all of this stuff in one platform. And I agree that is really the challenge that me as an engineer, as an entrepreneur, and that is really one of the challenges I'm trying to solve. That yes, instead of going through 5 different techs, how this could be solved in one platform, and that is really the focus has been for us. And that's we're not there 100%, but that's the direction we're going. And when we're trying to solve a lot of these challenges in one platform.
Okay. So I've got a couple of quick questions because we're almost out of time. The first is, if I've got this sounds quite expensive. If I've got a very limited budget, where would you recommend I start? What are some of the simple things that I can start doing that's not going to cost a fortune if I've got a limited budget to do this?
This is really an interesting question. This is really, I was talking about our hackathon at MIT. And one of the things that our focus has been, how do you create cheaper solutions, which are, nowadays, you can afford it. The stuff that I discussed today, even if you're starting a smaller partner program with limited budget, the tech is out there at a reasonable price point to make it happen. You'll be surprised. So that is something you need to go and explore. But yes, there's a very reasonable solutions out there, and that is really the direction a lot of developers and development community companies out there. They're trying to create a cost-effective solution that not only a bigger vendor that has thousands of partners, but somebody who has got up to 50 partners, 100 partners they can do. So the technology is out there. and something we'll be more than happy to discuss and talk about it.
Okay, and I've got one final question because we are out of time. How do you move from the account level, what's on their website, number of deals coming in, etc., to the individual level? Who should take more training, etc.?
So are you talking about, let me just clarify, account level?
So if you dive down from the overall partner level, is there a way to dive into the partner's personnel, understand more about those people,
Absolutely.
understand more about what they could or should be doing with you?
Absolutely, because data is all there. So it is actually pretty straightforward. So, platforms like MindMatrix and other PRM products out there, we're already looking at partner persona and sub personas. At the partner level, we already know if it is a sales guy, it's a SE, if it's a marketing person, the owner, we already know who they are. And then also every transaction POS data, anything, there's a salesperson name associated with that. There's a training associated with every person. There's a named user behind everything. So there is a lot of data available, even at the individual person level, that you can provide recommendation and personalize the experience at the individual level. Absolutely.
Fabulous. Harbinder, I certainly learned a lot from that session. I'm sure everyone else on the call did too. So thank you very, very much indeed. And I have to say to everyone, a big thank you to Harbinder because he's been very unwell this week. He's actually suffering from COVID. So he's done a great job for us despite that this morning. So Harbinder, thank you so very, very much indeed.
Thank you, Rod, for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
And we'll now be moving into the break, and the workshops will start in approximately 45 minutes. Thank you all very, very much for joining us.
Thank you.